Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. I'm Alina Ghost in case you're new here, and I've got Casper down here who is a white German Shepherd and Swiss Shepherd mix, and basically we've had him for like nearly 5 years now. And if you've been following our channel, you'll know that I also have a baby boy who's now 11 months old. His name is Aiden. So this video is all around how I trained my dog for a baby. I hope this video is going to help you out because I've got lots of tips, lots of tricks to do. I love how he's snoozing behind me. Cool, so Casper decided to get up and walk around, probably got annoyed with me sticking the camera in his face. But anyway, okay, so I wanted to say that even though I'm no dog trainer, I did so much research. I looked at so many YouTube videos. I even binge watched Caesar series around how to train your dog in general. But essentially, for training a dog when you've got a baby or when you're about to have a baby, I think firstly it's so important, and that's why I did so much research, because it can be a shock to the system, especially when it's the first baby. So you don't know how the dog is going to react, let alone how you are going to react as a parent. So basically I did a few things, and this is going to be my list. Firstly, I looked at crying, so babies crying. How will that affect the dog? Do I smell different, boy? Do I smell babiness? Who is it, boy? So what I did is actually go onto YouTube, type in baby crying noises, baby cries, baby crying, baby laughing. Yes, because laughing can be just as different, and it's a completely extra human in the house that makes funny noises. So it was around actually getting those noises, even if it's just a random baby, into the house and playing it to see how the dog will react. Casper, how did you react? Did you react, boy? Yes. So Casper was absolutely fine with the noises. At first, yes, he would move his ears around and he'll be like, what is that noise? Just trying to figure out who it is, what it is, where it's coming from. But once he's figured out that actually it's nothing to worry about, something that I'd recommend actually, if your dog does show strange behaviour to crying especially, is actually give them lots of treats. So make it into a positive association. So basically, if they start whining or they start acting strange, I don't know, going round in circles, for example, barking at it even. I've heard of dogs barking at babies crying. Just give them a treat and say, actually, this is a good thing. So each time a baby cries, you will get a treat. Therefore, it's a good thing rather than a negative thing. The other thing I recommend is actually getting a doll. So before you even have the baby, if it is your first especially, is grab a doll and pretend that you're holding it around the house. Firstly, it's very good for you as a parent to figure out that actually you have to do everything with one hand. But when it comes to dogs, like when you're treating them, when you're giving them attention, they come to realize that actually you will only have one hand to do all those things, from giving them the treat with one hand and actually making them wait because you're having to put their food together with one hand. So that's what I had to do, because Casper has a different kind of meal. So he eats twice a day. So I'm going on a complete tangent here. He eats twice a day, but what we do is actually put half meat and half vegetables. So like potatoes and carrots and stuff. But I have to mix that. So I found it difficult actually having to mix those two things together every meal time, so morning and evening, when I had a baby. But it just had to be done. It did. And you were absolutely fine with it. You just got used to it, didn't you? Baby boy is having a nap, so we're wanting attention. So that brings me nicely, actually. Something that you need to do is set boundaries. Boundaries with your dog. So if your dog comes onto the sofa, make sure that they know where to sit, when they're allowed to do so. If they're no longer allowed to go on the sofa because of the baby, then you have to train them now. The other thing is about attention, so setting boundaries with attention, because when you've got a baby, you wouldn't necessarily want to give a pet that attention, or you want to, you just can't because you won't have enough time or the ability. So like you don't have enough hands, and maybe you're sorting the baby out and changing their nappy. They need to know that that is a boundary that you have to set, and to do that, I recommend giving them positive association. So we're back onto treats. When I suggest like positive association, I mean, like, let me give you an example. If you don't want them coming onto the sofa anymore, you give them a positive association when they're coming off of the sofa, or when they are off of the sofa just sitting next to you. In terms of attention, somebody's wanting attention right now. Yeah. So in terms of attention, I recommend actually looking at set times that you can give them attention for. So for example, if you can only give them attention when the baby is sleeping, then pretend that that doll is asleep, or turn off the crying noise, then give them that attention. And if they ask for that attention at a time that you don't think is right, then I recommend actually distracting them with something, maybe a toy, maybe a bone, or throw a treat somewhere else. So get some treats maybe that they can actually play with on their own. So talking about toys, actually, you would have noticed if you've seen our vlogs that Casper is very good with only playing with his own toys, whereas Aiden, my baby boy, is completely the opposite, obviously because he's a baby. But when it came to Casper, actually, we have a toy section just for him under the stairs. So he knows that his toys go under there, and that he can grab a toy at any point that he wants to when he does. And when actually his toys are around with Aiden's toys, he knows the difference between the two. I'm not sure quite how, but I think the main difference and association is the fact that when it comes to Casper toys, especially new ones, what we do is actually give it to him. So we make him sit, then we give him the toy. That shows that actually this is just your toy. So anything else that isn't given to you personally that first time when it's new, that means it's not your toy. So basically, I think that's how Casper started associating those two things, which is pretty cool. The other thing I'd recommend is obviously doing the usual. So when they do take the wrong toy, you tell them no. So, no, you shouldn't do that. And when they do, give them all of that great attention, give them extra treats so that they are only playing with their toys and not the baby's toys. Isn't that right, Casper? You're very good with toys. Very good. Yes, yes. Oh. Give him all the attention. So the next thing I'd say is probably walks. So you know that when you've got a baby, you're probably less likely to want to go out on walks. And even though we did still do daily walks, and thankfully I had my partner, so my husband, who was able to go running with Casper, especially because we were in lockdown, my other half was like on furlough and things like that. The idea is basically that you will have to cut down walks. So it's a matter of, in the run up to having a baby, so Labor Day, is basically cutting down those walks by like 5-10 minutes, maybe making them a little bit less regular, so making them irregular. But I'd still warn caution in the sense that when it's a big dog like this, so if you've got a huge dog and you're training them for less walks, I actually recommend that perhaps you look at different methods of wearing them out. So whether you're playing tug of war, whether you're playing with the hose in the garden, because that's something that I did, is like just play with Casper with the hose until he got tired. So it's just a matter of finding other ways to get their energy out so that actually they don't get naughty because you don't walk them enough. But that's something definitely to keep in mind, that yes, you'll have less time to actually walk with them, but at the same time you can still go walking, but maybe make it a shorter burst. So go walking for 10 minutes about 3 or 4 times a day rather than just the once for an hour, for example. Don't forget to do some lead work with your dog, because it's really important that even when baby's not there, they know how to walk with a pushchair and a pram, and so that they're walking next to you when the baby is here. Next thing is I wanted to talk about barking. So dogs love to bark, whether you like it or not. They tend to bark and do it when you don't expect them. So for example, we just had like, I don't know, a van going past just now, and he just looked up and I was like, don't you dare bark, because baby boy is sleeping and having a nap. So I guess it's the fact that you need to train them to not bark. So when you are unhappy with their behaviour, it's a matter of positively associating that. So whether they like attention or a toy, like a distraction, for example. I went for treats, you know what I'm like. I just previously told you in the video to use treats, but also if you've seen my other videos, you'll know that I very much recommend using treats and food as a positive association. So especially because Casper's a foodie, he's gone down under the table now. So I guess when it came to actually teaching him not to bark, it's firstly teaching him to bark and saying bark, and then be like woof woof. And then the opposite, so stop or don't do that, or like whatever commands you give them, you then associate it, and if they do that behavior, then you give them a treat. Okay, so for this last tip, I got comfortable because I wanted to be serious and let you know that this tip is probably the most important, because this is noticing your dog's behavior issues. Have they got any issues that you think will be potentially dangerous to your child? It takes common sense. As I said, I'm not a dog trainer, but I use my common sense, and I know that if I ever thought that my dog was a threat, I would not have him near my son. So I have a no tolerance policy. If I ever think that Casper is dangerous and is not trusted with a baby, I will not have him in my house. So basically, I have had issues with Casper before where he got aggressive to me personally. I've not seen him get aggressive with anybody else, but basically I think most of the reason is because I am alpha, I'm the one who trained him, and probably because I feed him as well. So whether it comes to food or some toys, he does get aggressive, so he growls at me. Yes, he's bitten me before, but this is something that we did seek help for. We got a dog trainer to come to our house and help us out. Funnily enough, when he did come, he actually said that actually Casper's an angel and that he can't see anything, or like not wrong, but like no behavior issues, so touch wood. So hopefully it was a one-off, whatever it was. If he does get aggressive again, I know how to handle it. So essentially what I'm saying, if you know there are behavioral issues, firstly, seek help. Secondly, know how to handle the situation. Thirdly, think seriously about having that dog with that behavior issues around the baby. Luckily, Casper's not shown any behavior issues to anybody else, as I've mentioned before, especially not to my son, because if I see him actually going for Aiden, I will go mental. So actually, now that I think about it, we do have some rules and set some boundaries, not only for us, but also for Casper. So when I was talking about setting boundaries earlier, it's also for Casper. Casper knows that he has a bed that he can go to, and that when Aiden, my baby boy, goes over to his bed, I usually try and discourage him and say, no, the dog is laying on his own and doesn't want any attention. So that is a safe zone for the dog, so that they know that there's space away from the baby that the baby can't get to. The other boundary is actually under the table, although I am more lenient around that and I actually watch them play together. I don't like just leaving my baby boy to go and play with Casper on his own. I never leave them unattended. I make sure that if I do see Casper and Aiden playing, that I'm usually around or somebody else is around. Cool, so that's the serious part over, and I hope that these tips were really useful to you. I know that these tips helped me because, as I said, I did so much research to actually get this trained into him before my baby boy even came, and I really do think that it helps. So I hope that it helps you. If you liked the video, please do give me a thumbs up. If you have any other tips or any other comments about how to train a dog for a baby, please do let me know down below. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe and hit that bell button. Thanks so much for watching, and until next week.